Hello students, this is Dr. N. Venkatachalapathi, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. I would like to discuss on metal forming topic and a discussion on question banks, how the questions will be framed, short answer questions, long answer questions, and problematic and creative thinking questions. Let us discuss in this presentation. And in the manufacturing process, the course for the mechanical engineering, automobile and aeronautical engineering classes. And let us see the main name of the topic covered in the earlier sessions is discussion on question bank metal forming process. And the main learning outcome of this topic is design features that make each of these manufacturing process both harder, easier, assess design and manufacturing features on real products. Okay, so mainly a student after completion of this course, he or she able to get the knowledge and apply the appropriate metal forming techniques for the producing components like connecting rod, hexagonal bolt, nut and spanner, and any wrench, adjustable wrench. All these products they can able to apply this manufacturing process. And here, as per the two things the student can able to understand, one is the preparation of this course is very useful for the mechanical engineering point. When you wanted to design a component or manufacturing of a component, he or she should able to know the what are the various processes are available in that each process, how they can able to study the basic concept and how we are supposed to understand how to frame the questions and how do we answer for the semester examination and other competitive examination. Let us see these are the this metal forming comes under the module 3. This metal forming module 3 in a manufacturing process. So majorly the short answer questions just I have described here. Let us see the define crystallization temperature, what are the different types of rolling techniques, and what is the process involved in making internal gates, what are the various forces involved in the rolling forces, and write any 4 disadvantages of hot working process, and what are the operations used for making a compound die. So like this, there are number of short answer questions are available. Even you can see what are the various types of rolling mills and what is the describe the process of deep drawing, and finally how are tensile strength, yield strength and hardness affected with cold working process. So let us see these are the short answer question. You are supposed to write the up to the mark 2 mark questions whenever you can write about the technical definitions, and wherever required you can draw the some line diagrams also. So I have written this a 3-dimensional diagram for easy understanding. Simply a rolling process. A rolling is conversion of large cross section into a small cross section by application of 2 rollers, backup rollers, etc. And this is a 2 type of working. It is a hot rolling process or cold rolling process. Both depends upon the recrystallization. As we discussed earlier, the term recrystallization can be defined as it is the transformation of old nuclei into new nuclei, which is called the recrystallization. The temperature at which the recrystallization takes place is called the recrystallization temperature. Yes or no? So this is what a simple definition. The student able to study properly in some standard textbooks, okay, Kalpik Jain and P.N. Rao, and some traditional books like Ajara Chaudhary, okay, Raghuvamshi, Manufacturing Technology or Workshop Technology Part 1 and Part 2. So in both of 2 parts, it comprising of metal casting process, fabrication process, this metal forming, and apart from that some polymers and some other advanced 3D printing also now is going to be more focus for mechanical engineering students. So like that you can able to write the technical definitions for understanding the examiner easily. Okay, and even you can see the cold working. The basic difference between a hot working and cold working is the term hot working can be defined as it is the process where heating the metal above its recrystallization temperature, we call it as a hot working process. Below its recrystallization temperature, we call it as a cold working process. Like that, that only the difference between that recrystallization temperature only it will distinguish hot and cold working. But coming to the various hot working process, generally the major advantages for the hot working is what you call so hot working advantages means there two process whatever the metals ferrous or non-ferrous can easily forming and there is a minimum wastage of the material and hot working only above its recrystalline temperature, so where it is having a some average surface finish will have. But coming to the major four disadvantages, what that disadvantage means in a hot working process we have to heating then pressing. The two process can be done, it is a cost of the process will be high. So there is a one disadvantage, and wherever you required while performing the hot working process, dimensional quality it is not able to achieve. Only when it is in a cold working process you can able to have the dimensional accuracy, dimensional quality can be obtained because it is no heating can be done. But when it is hot working in the hot condition, the temperature above its recrystallization for steel it is more than 923 degrees centigrade. For other stainless steel and alloy steel, different type of steels varies from the temperature to temperature. It is difficult to handle the metal in the hot working, so that some oxides will form in the surface. Again, the finishing process also is required. That is why, while coming to the disadvantage of the hot working, effective quality surface finish could not maintain. It is a two process means it is a lengthy process. Output is very less compared to the cold working. Okay, suppose when you produce here 100 components, cold working may produce 200 more than that also, because then only pressing, there is no heating can be done in cold working process. But whereas the hot working only we have to do the heating process and metal forming, that is by applying the pressure with the help of the different type of presses such as pneumatic and hydraulic and different type of screw press, etc. Okay, and like that if you even you see various types of rolling mills. So in general there are number of classes. You can see the here there will be, this is the workpiece. Okay, and here the size of the workpiece will be transformed. Okay, whenever the diameter can be reduction, length can be increased. That is the simple principle involved in the rolling process, where here the two rollers can be used. It is a two high roll mill. If you add one more roller, we'll call it the three high roll mill. If you add four rollers, that is the four high roll mill or cluster roll mill. So that also with the representation of diagram itself, you can able to explain clearly. And even some planetary rolling mill is there, cluster rolling mill is there, I think. So whatever the thing, some more rollers can be provided. So that is what a cluster roll mill. Okay. So there are some two rolls and supported by backup rolls. How we can perform like that? It is a cluster roll, and sometimes the planetary rolls also will be there. So these are the some types of rolling mills, and where in case you should be able to explain clearly, you should draw the sketch also. It is very much important so that the examiner can easily understand. And similarly, you can see the cold working. So cold working means we should need to only more pressure is required because there is no heating inside that structures and grains and all cannot be modified. So you can apply the pressure only. Due to more apply, it shows work hardening can be work hardening and strain hardening will be occur. Sometimes more pressure it leads to be some breakage also will be occur. Okay, and where in the case of heating means when you heat inside, you can see the how the grains will be transformed old to new, and it will small will become enlarged. That enlarged become again it may be small, like that. All these interlinking process can be done in the heating. So then you can apply a little pressure, also can change the a simple shape and simple form also can be done. Okay, so that is what about the structural, the microstructural changes in cold working and hot working, this like this. Okay, whenever if you feel any difficulty, you can suppose to explain with the help of the neat sketches, so that the examiner can award good marks. And even for the competitive examination also, you should write up to the mark. Okay, so suppose if they asked in a 4 high roll mill, how many rolls should be used? Okay, what are the diameter of the holes? It is same or variation, like that they may ask. Okay, so even you can see the some of the technical thing. What is meant by crystallization? What are the mechanical properties can be improved? That is tensile strength or impact, or what can be increased and decreased? You can able to explain clearly. And apart from this, another type of look at this is a way how the deep drawing can be done. Okay, so even for 2 marks you can't write this much thing, only when this question asked in the long answer questions, so there you can draw the clearly. This line diagram is not required for the three-dimensional diagram. So look at when you say the deep drawing means, generally the mixie jars are is there, the major application in every day, every house. The parents are doing for breakfast, they can do for chutney and some of the things for mixie jar. One small chutney jar is there, that can be made with the deep drawing process. Okay, so deep drawing, and this deep drawing like a cup shaped pots will be obtained. So you can see the initially it is a self-explanatory. So there will be one sheet can be kept, sheet or blank, and there will be one punch will apply the force. Exactly the two punch pads will be there. If you are not having these are the punch pads, what will happen when you apply the force, it may disturb. Okay, automatically if you have that pressure pads, you can easily that plunger shape, square, rectangular shape can be obtained easily. Even it is a circular cylinder type, you can have a some circular rod, circular shape of the cup, and this excess is, we will call it as a flash. Okay, so what is the exact amount of material can be kept in there? So it is a open die forging, like that. If it is a closed means, so this type of flash cannot be occur. Okay, so these are the some wrinkles shape. Suddenly if you apply pressure, some metal may be wrinked together depending upon the what you call more pressure in that process. Okay, so that leads to some defect. Again, I had to remove that. You can use some of the machining operations like grinding, etc. Okay, so this is where you can able to explain what is deep drawing, and generally how they determine the blank size. So that blank size formula also is there. Okay, so blank size S is equal to there is a simple formula, square root of d square plus 4dh. Okay, so here blank size, that blank diameter, height of that blank. Okay, with this formula, wherever the that ratio which is the in between 10 to 15, you should follow this. Less than that you can do, and if it is increased more than 15, more than 20, you can deduct from some 0.5 r and minus point r, point r and minus 2 r. So like that some variation also will be occur in this deep drawing process. Okay, so I hope the student can understand clearly how you can able to write the proper answer for the examination point of view. So look at this, some of the important questions where it will come from the short answer, that is either it is a fill in the blanks, or sometimes objective also will be there in the competitive examinations like GATE, IAS examination. They will ask some 4 options may be given, in that which is the appropriate. Some questions maybe 2 or more also will be there. Okay, all of the above, like that. Sometimes only 2 answers also will be there. Like that, because competitive examination, they will test in depth for a student knowledge. Okay. And let us see some of the other questions. So write a short note on specialized types of piercing techniques. Okay, piercing means also you can call them making the holes, punching or piercing, and define the forming in terms of bending. So look at the bending. There is a slight blank sheet is there. When you apply force, it may bend. So the bending may be either channel welding, L welding, and U bending. Different type of welding is there. So wherever by apply this, initially there is a compression, outside is an expansion. That thinning of sheet can be applicable for the some clearance should be added. Okay, so there will be a neutral axis and radius of the neutral axis and inside radius and compression and expansion. Okay, will be clearly mentioned in the diagram. So this is the how we can able to explain in a bending operation. And look at what is meant by grain growth. Actually, in the recrystallization, how the formation. This is what about grain growth. So look at, so here sub grains will enlarge. Again, it may enlarge. Okay, again it will come to a different. And finally, these are the recrystallized grains when it is a hot working. In cold working, this is a very little bit grains may be observed. So that is what about the grain growth. And list out some type of presses. So this is what any sheet metal process. The first and foremost thing is mechanical presses, working of gears and some rods, etc. But pneumatic press with the help of air or pressure. Okay, and hydraulic press with the help of fluid, either water and liquid, anything else. Okay, screw press. There are also mechanical components will be applicable for the different differentiation of the presses. Okay, and coming to this, what are the write a short note on process and wire drawing. So wire drawing means that there are main important thing is thin wires, some electrical Asian cables, how they can prepare the wires with the large diameter, the small diameter. Inside they can keep the copper wires under. Okay, so that is most probably in the polymer. Okay, PVC cables will be made up of this wire drawing process. Okay, so like that, even you can see the in this is a one important process called swaging. How the swaging process can be done. Okay, so swage block. Okay, at a time the 4-jaw check. You have studied in the lathe machine 3-jaw check, 4-jaw check. When it is a 3-jaw check, when you open one jaw, all the three can be simultaneously open. When you close it, all the 3 jaws may be closed. But when in the case of here, each jaw can be opened by separated. When you wanted to, especially this type of thing can be applicable in the some eccentric type of applications. Okay, the different diameters. Okay, one cylinder, another small diameter cylinder also can be made with this thing. Okay, so this is a swaging. How we will rotation and how it can move the jaws in effective manner. That is called the swaging. Rotary swagings also is there sometimes. Okay, different type of swaging. This can be operated like a lathe type of principle. And coming to this long answer questions, especially whenever the manufacturing process subject is concerned, it is a beautifully theoretical one, but only thing is we wanted to score maximum marks. So you should be able to draw some line diagrams with the effective representation of the terminology. Terminology is a very, very important. For example, you can say explain the advantages and disadvantages of hot and cold working. Okay, so just I have mentioned like this, you can put a table, hot working and cold working. So you can write simple, it is a 14 mark question, at least you can write the minimum 10 differences. Okay, and here you can add with the definition, and sometimes you can put the some applications and some of the advantages, and also can add even the cost parameters also can be added in the comparison. Okay, for the simple understanding, hot working means working above recrystallization. Similarly, cold means below recrystallization. For example, for a steel 923 degrees centigrade is the recrystallization melting point. Okay, so where in the case of cold working, at room temperature itself can perform That is why we required lots of pressure and force is required to do this operation. Okay, and especially for the hot working, it is a two process can be done. One is a heating and forming, means surface finish is not that much good. But when in the case of cold working process, it is a good surface finish or dimensionally effective surface finish, because there is no heating at all. Even we can able to perform the exact mirror like surface finish also can be done based on the dye is or mold inside that surface that can be made with the some CNC machineries also. Okay, there is no stress formation in hot working, but internal stress formation will be occur because lot of force and pressure is performing in order to change the small shape also. Because of over force, over pressing, what will happen? Some some breakage also may be occur. But there is no size in limit hot working. But here cold working means limited size. If the size can be increased, large tonnage capacity is required. So automatically that capacity cost will be more than lakhs and crores will be there. So that is why if you do the perform mass production, then only can able to do the any type of operations. Okay, so and similarly you can see the what are the properties, how you will compare the properties obtained by cold and hot working process. Okay, so this is what about the mechanical properties, electrical properties, and magnetic properties. How either in hot working it is increasing, cold working some case it is decreasing. That you can able to explain with the simple graphical representation also you can made. Okay, and let us see the some different type of roles. What are the what are the products are made by the rolling process? Look at in this three-dimensional diagram. These are the different type of rolling mills. Rolling. This is a longitudinal rolling and this is a screw rolling. So whenever the screw type of application, okay, this can screw rolling and tube rolling. So tube drying, the toothpaste tubes, okay, that can made of tube drying and impact extrusion can be performed. And ring rolling, so wherever the rings or some triangular or cone can be used for converting the size and changing it the shape, that is called the ring rolling. Or sometimes flat rolling also is there. Instead of cone they can use this some flat some prism etc to perform that. And especially in the hot working, the formation of a new crystals may be occur. What will happen whenever it is a heating, the changes in the granules, it when it is heated inside will crystals will be changed. It's a small to medium, medium to large. Again it will take a small tiny shape. But in the case of cold working, there is no crystal formation because there is no heating, there is no changes in the crystal. Okay, this is what about this some comparison of hot and cold working. You can able to add as per the advantages and some applications also you cannot. Hot working, the major application is a hot rolling process, hot forging process, and hot drawing process and hot spinning process. Cold working means simple white drawing and deep drawing and sometimes different simple operations of blanking and freezing also comes under the cold working process. Okay, so this is what about the how you present in a long answer questions. Wherever needed, you can able to no need to draw the three-dimensional figures. You can draw the some line diagrams with the representation, that diagrammatic representation with the parts classification also very important, so that the examiner can able to assess your answer will be suitable and they may put more marks. Okay, and coming to this another type of questions like explain how do you find the force and power requirements for a rolling process in general. So there is a rolling, so already I have studied in this rolling process. You can see this can be performed here. This is some triangle representation. Here separation delta H is equal to mu square R. So delta H in the sense H1 minus H2 is equal to mu square R. Mu is the quotient of friction in between the two rollers, or is the diameter of the roller. Okay, where H1, H2 is the roll separation force starting and final. The difference between the roll separation force is called delta H. It is a some very limited only. So that will be depends upon the quotient of friction and radius of that roller only. Okay, so like this pressure, force, and some equations also will be there. Sometimes they may ask problems also. That is delta H is equal to mu square R. They will give quotient of friction, radius. We are supposed to calculate delta H, and sometimes H1 also will be given. So based on that, H1 minus H2 is equal to mu square R. Okay, so H1 minus H2 is equal to mu square R. So they will give any miss, either H1 will be given, H2 should calculated, H2 will be given, H1 will be calculated. Sometimes they ask you to find out mu square, quotient of friction. Mu square is equal to delta H by R square root. Then mu is equal to square root of delta H by R. So like that some relations, problematic representation also is there, so that you can able to calculate some force and pressure. Okay. So, and some other thing here, see, what is the difference between a blanking and piercing? So here, it seems to be some 2-mark question problem. Compare blanking and piercing. Simply, the punched out part is called a blank, making the hollow shape is called the piercing. Okay, and in detail, you can explain with the help of the needs, because you can see this is called the blanking operation. So blanking. So blanking means when you put it, that part can be re-out. That is called workpiece. All this white color is called the workpiece. The remaining thing is a scrap. But when in the case of piercing and punching means here that punched out part is a scrap. Okay. So this hole is a workpiece. This hole may be workpiece. The remaining part and all scrap only. Okay. So this way, first of all, it is a long answer question, so you need to explain clearly what is metal forming process. In that, how you can able to explain the term blanking and piercing with a technical definition, with a neat line diagrams also can able to represent, and what are the various advantages of blanking and the limitations of the blanking. Similarly, piercing, and finally you can able to propose some applications related to some blanking and piercing process. Okay. And look at the spinning machine. Okay, whenever large bell-shaped components made up of this spinning machine. But here you can see the different type of components in the spinning machine. So there will be a mandrel. So one mandrel will be there, tailstock, headstock, spindle, clamp. These are the forming tool. We will call it as a forming tool. Okay, whenever in this conical shape, when you apply this form tool, that bell shape in the temples under large type of bells are available. Okay, so those bells and all made up of this spinning process. So how you can able to obtain all this? Okay. This what about this some basic parts of the spinning machine. Either it may be hot. When it is in hot condition, it is called hot spinning process. When it is cold condition, it is called some cold spinning process. Especially hot spinning only, that in temples where you are using some bell shapes can be made up of this hot spinning process. Okay, so and similarly you can able to differentiate. Hot spinning means it can process above its recrystallized temperature. Again, it is below recrystalline temperature. We can also call the cold spinning operation. Okay, so like that. Even what is the again difference between a wide drawing and tube drawing? Okay, so again you should draw the definitions of the wide drawing and tube drawing, and you can able to represent the simple line sketches to score maximum marks. And even though they didn't ask the advantages and limitations of this wide drawing and tube drawing, you should be able to present clearly. and wherever applications also, even cables. Wire drawing means some Asian cables and advanced electrical wires and all made up of this wire drawing, and tubes, some tubes made up of this tube drawing process. Okay, so this is why you can able to attempt your examination. Already you studied in the regular day-to-day class. Sometimes you can able to recollect the concept. That is why if you practice the simple diagrams, three-dimensional diagram, you can able to explain with the 2D diagrams in a good manner. Okay, so this is what about this some long-term answer questions. So similarly, problem solving and critical thinking questions. This is what very important for any question paper. For any question paper, there is some 10 to 15% critical thinking questions may be set from the any college or any university with the expert faculty. Okay, so at least he or she should be able to teach more than 5 times. Then you can able to set the critical thinking questions. Look at the how the pattern of critical thinking questions. The first question: explain working principle of hydraulic and pneumatic press, hot working and cold working process. Here, basically, first you need to understand clearly what is metal forming process. In that, what is the difference between a hot working and cold working. Then you can able to represent for a metal forming process. The press is very essential component. Okay, again in that. More number of presses, which is the easily understand and easily prepare the process. That also can able to explain clearly. So according to the classification, hydraulic press, pneumatic press, and some screw press, these are also available. Okay, and once again differentiate between hot working and cold working. If it is a 2-mark question, generally by representing 2 or 3 questions is sufficient. But in the 14 marks or 20 marks question, okay, you need to first define what is hot working and similarly what is cold working, how they are performing this hot working and cold working, what are the various advantages and limitations of the hot working cold working process, and how you can represent this practical in nature for any organization. Okay, and these are the some questions were for critical thinking questions. Okay, so apart from, you can see the some of the shearing operation, this purely comes under the cold working process. Cold working process first means piercing. Piercing means punched out part, that is the workpiece. Making the halos is the punching or piercing process. So like that, you can clearly understand the diagrammatic. This punched out part is workpiece. Okay, making the hollow portion is the piercing. This is the workpiece. We will call it as a and piercing and blanking operation. That is the one best example for the simple sheet, and you can apply some force by taking about that metal. Okay, so that is what about the piercing. Similarly, the number of type of shearing operations are available in the mechanical engineering, manufacturing technology subject. But slotting, remove the metal easily. Okay, a purchasing operation that forms rectangular holes, or sometimes it described in the piercing description in the different shades and size. Okay, and what is perforating, and what about the notching? Notching means end notch. So like impact, eye-joint impact tests, like that we will perform. You can able to perform this notching process. And nibbling means punching a series of small overlapping that leads to be holes. Okay, so that is what this notching and nibbling. And lancing also very important. Some small light corner at the middle or end, and you can supposed to get this process also effectively. Okay, that's called lancing operation. Slitting means cutting straight lines with this sheet, and no scrap material is formed in the slitting process. And potting means sprinkling the silica component, and you need to understand clearly about the how we will perform the parting operation in the lathe machine and even metal forming process also. Okay, so this is what about the shearing operations. Now let us see the critical thinking questions. In general, even though it is a theoretical subject, sometimes for any question paper, the expert will set the question paper with critical thinking questions with related to industries. Okay, with related to industries. Okay, and let us look at the what are the different type of questions they may come in the examination, or you need to understand effectively. So, how are the forces calculated for performing the rolling operation? So, which I have explained in the earlier slide. The rolling operation majorly it can depend on the that government. Okay, so that while you wanted to perform this process, definitely you need to calculate how much force is required to change its shape or forming process. Okay, and explain the strain hardening techniques involved in automobile industry. Look at, so first of all, this is the application area. So in the what are the automobile industry made up of? Okay, either made up of or taking from some universities also. Okay, and that is what it is, a strain hardening technique or work hardening technique, where you can use the good applications in automobiles. That you have to think when you propose effectively, that leads go to the government funding agencies like DST, SERB, etc. Okay, and similarly micro stamping also. Okay, exactly, the stamping is very very important. Micro stamping for some lettering, some making some different shapes, etc. Okay, and how the tool life is estimated in blanking and piercing techniques. Why? Because the tool life plays an important role based on the usage of the ring rolls or that is square and rectangular rolls, etc. So to in order to change its shape and size of the component. So whenever while setting the critical thinking questions, obviously the student can able to understand clearly the diagrammatic representation, how he can able to present, and what is the importance of the blanking and piercing. So punched out part is called the ranking, and making the hollow portion is called the piercing or punching technique. Okay, so this is what about the how the problem solving in three different parts. First part where you can consisting of short answer questions, second means long answer questions, and third and fourth is problem solving and critical thinking. Especially in a problem solving, you have some simple problems works in the what you call the simple the critical thinking. You need to have an visit that how you will perform the some blanking operation, punching operation while pressing exactly the same amount of temperature and pressure should be there. And what are the different type of sheet metal? That is what I have explained clearly. These are the some various shearing operations where you can perform better in the application point of view. Some slotting also will be there. Perforating means a punching operation. It is also comes under the punching, where you need to large number of holes in a single operation can be performed in the this operation. Okay, and that is what nibbling and lancing, slitting, and potting. Potting also can be done effectively with the what you call separation of a pot from the remaining sheet by punching away the material between the pots. Okay, so this is a simple critical thinking question like ring rolling, not for any other rolling. Okay, whenever the critical thinking question, how you will perform this setup. Okay, ring roll setup, it is very important. Number of times they may ask in the examination point. So that is why critical thinking also very important for performing a better thing. Okay, so I hope the students can able to understand how do you attempt to the various type of critical thinking and long answer questions and short answer questions in order to have the some good properties and effectiveness. Okay, so this is what about the some important concept in the module 3. Okay, module 3 metal forming process, where you can able to perform effectively. Okay, so this is what about the some presentation on the short term questions and long term questions, and which if you go through some other fundamentals, they may ask in the gate examination also. So where this type of formula delta H is equal to mu square R. So delta H is equal to mu square R, so that you can able to attempt effectively in the regions. Okay, so this is what about the some focus discussion and question bank from metal farming. Okay, so thank you very much for uh, understanding clearly about the process. Okay, so this is what about the some question bank discussion on the different type of units, such as what you called such as welding, fabrication, and metal forming, etc. Okay, so thank you so much.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.